everybody. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, Good morning.
Yeah, thank you all for joining me today. It's such a privilege, such a pleasure. I'm really, really grateful. Okay, so I think we are past time, few minutes past time already. I would like us to just get right into it. Can everybody hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay, so we'll just start with prayers. Father Lord, we just want to say thank you for this day. Such a privilege and an honor to be called yours and to be known by you and to have you as a father. We ask, oh God, that even as we are about to start this talk show, that it will bless lives and add values to everyone who comes across this broadcast later on in the name of Jesus. Give us the right words to speak, give us the right counsel in which to help people, help parents out there. And at the end of the day, we'll have all cause to glorify our glorious name. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, yeah, so right into it. My name is Dr. Zoyedoko. I'm a privileged visionary of Guided Arrows. Guided Arrows is targeted at parents and children. So for parents, God is enabling us to reconcile parents back to the original intent of parenting, and for children to help them start their relationship with Christ really early and onwards towards having the identity in Christ, basically, fulfilling purpose. Okay, so that's what Guided Arrows is all about. And now that that is out of the way, I'll go to what today is about. It's deliberate parenting amidst the uprising menace in the world. And one of which stands out, on the pressing one right now, is transgender. Yes, we know homosexuality has been there. Yes, we understand that, but transgender is now starting to creep in and crippling the faith of so many people. We want to be able to empower parents out there with the necessary information and counsel that will help them manage this time and manage their children in order that they are able to raise up godly seeds at the end of the day. And this is what God will have us do, that our children will not go left when we are on our way to our Canaan land. Okay, yeah. So now that that's out of the way, I would like to introduce our guest for today. With no particular order, I would like to introduce first Mr. Ayo ADESANYA. He's actually one of our panelists, and would love to talk to us. He's actually he has vast experience in child development, and he's worked with so many youths in time past, and he actually knows in his onions about this. But I really do not want to talk about it. I would like to just put it up so that we can have a little bit of information about who's coming to speak to us. So we have Mr. Ayo ADESANYA, we have Mrs. Shalakwe Adesi, we have Dr. Naomi, we have Mrs. Omoluabi, BM, Fonicon BM. So I would like to put that up. I don't just want to gloss over them just right away. So please, just 1 minute. Okay. Are you putting that now? Yes, but that one I told you. Okay, yeah, put it, then put the first speakers, whatever on it. Okay, put now. Okay, so should be sharing my screen now. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so I would like to, yes, like I said earlier, while we wait for the introduction, yes. Okay, is it ready, guys? Good to go, good to go, good to go. Okay, so I think it's able to go. Let me Okay. So, was that already? Oh, okay. So that's Mr. ADESANYA. Yes. So he has over 4 years of experience in grants, financial management, and child development. Mr. Ayotunde is a team lead for payroll and grant in the Institution of Human Virology. So the most important thing I would like you to know about Mr. ADESANYA is that he's got vast training with children, with the NGO reaching over 7,000 children, administering assessment and training to foster early childhood development. His organization partners with Arizona State University to create hybrid learning experiences with schools in Nigeria. Okay, so I think I would like, maybe what I'll just do is I'll put this right in the chat box so that we can know more about these people. The next person I would like to talk about is okay, please put that up. Okay, so Mrs. Shalakwe, I don't know if she's here right now. Okay, she is not here right now. Okay, but she's a barrister. She's soon to join us. She's actually, she has vast knowledge with law. And then, yeah, so this is Mrs. Omoluabi Okechukwu Bose. She's a Christian and she's also a privileged principal of Caleb British International School, Lekki. She's one of the our panelists for today. We also have Mrs. Sorry about it. Okay. Okay, we also have Mrs. Favor Femi Oyewale. She's not just a Christian, she also has experiences with children, and she's also a group CISO for Access Bank, and she's a 2023 official member of the Forbes Technology Council. And then we also have Dr. Naomi Chekami. She's a family physician in training. She's in Canada. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So first, I would like to call on I'd like to call on Mr. Ayo Adesanya. Could you please help us from your vast experience, speak to us about deliberate parenting? What should parents do? I know you've got so much experience with children and even parent likewise. What should parents do in this current age and time? How best can they navigate through this? Thank you very much. The floor is over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I want to acknowledge everyone here. And thank you for having me here today. I'm going to try to share as quickly as possible. I guess I have like 10 minutes, so I'll just share a little bit on what parents can do in this generation, when we reveal to various menaces. The first thing we must understand about the child is that a child is a brand. The child is not just the way we see them. Every child is specifically designed and prepackaged for their God-given assignment. Before they were even formed, God knew the purpose He wanted them to achieve. And we must treat them like the brand. You understand? When the purpose of something is unknown, abuse is inevitable, which means that sometimes the way we treat them does not depict the kind of future that they carry. Now, the world system has a different view. and the world system knows about the impact of the child. And so, there's so much distraction to be able to pull the child out of his or her God's-given assignment. Building up a specifically designed model is first thing we must realize is that it's a partnership between the parents and the teacher. And the first mistakes that parents do is to allow the teachers to just be in charge. But it is very key to understand that every child is designed for their assignment. The parent must understand that they have their part to play, while the teacher have their own part effort. Number 2 point is that no child has the found. They were designed to be winners from the get-go, and it's very important that we understand that very, very clearly. If a child is failing, it is either the teacher or the parent that is failing. Somebody's failing somehow, but the child does not have the foundation to fail. Now, I'm going to talk about, go straight into, how to deal with what is generated. It starts from body. Now, if we look at Genesis 30, verse 25 to 42, sorry, I'm just going to go there. So let's talk about, there's a particular story about Jacob and Laban and the speckled and spotted sheep. So when Jacob had an agreement with his father-in-law, that I'm just going to take the speckled sheep. So when they want to feed, he would pick a speckled striped poplar tree, and he will put it before them. And when they gave birth, the animal gave birth to the striped animal. And then the father-in-law, of course, decided to take and then eventually, he switched it around. What I'm trying to say is that there are attributes in every individual that relate to what positive child development for the child. There are 3 major factors that determine how a child turns out, no matter the environment the child is exposed to. There are 3 factors. Number 1 is the gene, the X and Y chromosome of the parent. The child is going to pick from the eye color, the way the parents are.
Very good.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
sir,
you
we
all
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yes, you can. Just the background.
If someone can try to mute Mr. It's giving me a little bit of distraction.
Okay.
The noise from is sorry, excuse me. Okay, I'll just go ahead now.
Okay.
So I was talking about the 3 factors that determine the personality, the genes, the individual choices, and the environment of a child. The first one is the X and Y chromosomes of the parents. Whether you like it or not, the child, it takes the DNA of the parents in one form or the other. The second one is the individual differences. There are children that are born first, they are more responsibility driven. Second children are more career paths because they follow the first child. I won't dwell on that today. But the third part I'm going to dwell on is the environment. Of recent, 2 years ago, it was discovered at the Harvard Center for Developing Child that the environment, the quality of early childhood experiences can change the DNA of a child, which means that the environment is very, very key. And when I mean environment, I don't just mean where the person stays. I mean the people around the person, the food they eat, everything that forms the makeup of everything that designed how a child grew up. So we must understand. Now there's something that's called mirror neurons in children when they are still very young. They are trying to adapt, so they are trying to copy their environment. So most of the time, whatever they see around them is what forms how they turn out to be. For example, a 5-year-old child, the brain of a 5-year-old is more busy than the brain of a 14-year-old. Because at 5 years, they are at sensitivity age, they are taking in so much information and trying to do a lot of sorting. At 14, you're kind of pretty defined about things you like and the path you want to take. So we must understand that for parents, the answer that I normally give to them is, the first part is that you need to check the mirror. The child is actually, maybe has a personality that takes after one of the parents. Then number 2 is to work on the environment. There are a lot of things they are pushing out there, and it is deliberate. I'm doing my second master's in child and youth development and leadership, and one of my courses is in diversity in a changing environment. And I remember that they were talking about, one of the courses was talking about inclusion and diversity. And then I realized that the first 4 lectures, they would deliberately make us watch videos of gay children and all of that. In fact, children had their own gay church. They were at their own gay camp. And they interviewed the children and they were like, yes, I can feel along in this place now. Because in the church where I came from, they were saying that it is devilish to exhibit gay characteristics. But in this gay camp now, I can still pray to God. And they started to sell all those kind of ideas. Now the world system is someone that what they try to do is to ensure that the mind is filled with those contents. And the mind is a battlefield. It is what you throw in that you throw out. So at your young age, parents must guard the environment of a child. The question is, can we fight with screens? Because evolution has taken over. And we're 21st century. We have to be compliant with the way evolution has taken over. But can we fight with screens? Can we continue to say that, oh, these are screens? No, we cannot. We should be able to leverage skill for positive child development. We should. If there's nothing we can do, there's a generation now called Generation Alpha. There's another generation after them, those that will be born from 2022, called Generation Omega. Generation Alpha already can use 5 screens together at the same time. So this is what is driving their generation. You cannot fight the screens, but we should be able to control the content of the screens. And we can be shouting about it from today to tomorrow. As long as we don't have a collective effort, there's nothing we can do. The number 1 search in the world is porn. Number 2 is sex. Number 3 is money. There's nowhere among the top 10 searches in the world that anything about positive youth development is achieved. So when that is what is being pushed out, there's so much going on. The funny thing is that they don't even take your permission to come into your house through the TV. Now, you're just going watching a movie in Africa, but the next thing that they will play is a music video with ladies shaking their bum bum, and your children are watching that, and you're there. You're like, you don't know that it's seeping into their mindsets. There's a mirror neuron copying it. There's a myelination process going on, that the brain is telling the child that this is what is right. If it can be played in the house. So we need to understand that dimension, and the children are in various stages. There's something called neural patterning that goes through the brain. The brain is trying to pick which one should they accept or not. Do you know that if a child watches pornography more than 7 times, the brain stores it as correct, which means that every time this child sees pornography, he is interested in it. Do you know that every time a child sees a gay content for more than 7 minutes, 7 times, he's able to dwell on it, and that becomes the way he thinks. So we must keep this environment clean. The jobs of parents is to do the work of parents, which is also a form of mentorship, to raise the child in the way that a child ought to grow, and the mindset that is able to produce solutions for that child's generation. If we continue to go at this rate, and of course, I don't blame parents to some extent, because looking at the economic situation of a parent, I counsel parents a lot, and the question they ask me is, what do you want us to do? Both of us are working. The truth of the matter is, if the foundation of something is faulty, then what can the righteous do? This child will grow up, and the work you're not doing now, you will come and do it later, even though you cannot raise up the foundation. If you build a house and it has cracks, you cannot break down the house. You'll be patching it continuously for the rest of the life of that child. So the work has to be done right now. You have to ensure that there is a solid foundation for that child, and it will help the child. What works is foundation. If the foundation is good, no matter how bad the structure is, they can always do interior decor, they can do this, they can train the child or not, but make sure, parents must make sure that the foundation is good. And if the foundation is good, the righteous can thrive, and everybody can be okay. And the child will be a solution provider to his or her generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. ADESANYA. I'm so grateful. And did I mention to you that Mr. ADESANYA is also the head of family processing unit at the Commonwealth of Zion Assembly. Thank you so much, sir, for that insight. Thank you so much. I'll be throwing this question to you, Barrister Sholakwe Adeshuyi. Yes, I remember introducing her to you earlier. So beyond she being a barrister, she's also very knowledgeable with children and with youth, and she's mentored and coached even me personally. She's been of a great resource in the past and even still is. So Ma, I would like to ask you, coming from the law aspect, we know that transgenderism, yes, it's prevalent in the western part of Nigeria, and so many parents are really crying up there, you can't invade our children, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we know that before you know it, Nigeria, these people have a way of having to, because it's the Western world and it has the world power, so they have some sort of influence. So do we have some sort of, is there a right to protect these children here in Nigeria? Is there a law in place? I would like your perspective from the law aspect, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Apologies, I'm not able to use my laptop, so I have to use my phone. I have just a very short period to spend. I need to be on another meeting. But thank you, Dorcas, for this invitation. And thank you for what you're doing with young people and with us parents. We trust God to take the responsibilities that we ought to take. Before I look at the question of the law, I think generally, the previous speaker, I didn't get his name, I came in a bit late, had spoken
Mr. ADESANYA.
Okay, Mr. ADESANYA has spoken very clearly on what the call is. No matter the social changes or the medical scientific discovery, one of the things I've even found out lately is that science is just coming much more to corroborate scriptures, the things that we've known from scripture, and perhaps we were only thinking about them in terms of religion and God, pleasing God, but some scientific discovery now are just coming to corroborates. I wouldn't want to use the word validate, because actually it is not science that validates scriptures, but scripture that validates science, basically. But corroborating and then helping some of us that have very scientific mind to now see that this is what God is actually saying. The truth is that the core work is with parenting. It's basically about parents. We just need to know what is God's mandate, what is the assignment for bringing a child to this world. And the Bible clearly says it's God wants us to raise godly seeds, godly heritage. And if we understand that even before going into the marriage, we understand that our core assignment is to raise these people. And in raising them, we have to be deliberate. We have to be deliberate. It means that for some of us, our career path and our career choice may have to be influenced by that. I say that because even as a mother and as a professional, I have at particular times in my life had to choose the course of my career on the basis of how I want to parent my children. It's a choice and a sacrifice that has to be made by couples. Today, you have to decide on what you think is more important. You have to decide on which of the parties in the marriage that will have to make the sacrifice, at least for a particular duration in your marriage period, within which you give your children the fundamental basis and foundation for what their lives will look like, and then to ensure that you are available. It's sometimes it's tough because you look at the economic aspects, you look at the demands, the financial demands and all that. But I have found that it's a sacrifice that parents need to take. You have to be deliberate about saying it. I had to choose. I had to resign from a work that kept me away too much from the family because my husband also was doing that kind of work. So both parents can't do that and expect to raise children deliberately. So somehow that consensus has to be agreed amongst couples. And then perhaps it's also important that at the onset of marriage, you set a foundation for what your family would represent, what values, what will be the vision of your family. So you're not in a marriage just because I love this person, but you know that it takes more than love to raise a family. It's a whole lot more. Okay, so as far as the menace of all kinds of things going on globally is concerned, and as far as legal issues are concerned as well, in Nigeria and most part of Africa as a continent, we have not over the years been so open to these concepts. As a matter of fact, even the concept of transgender and all of these other issues, concepts that are even still being contested even in the Western world. As a matter of fact, the transgender and the LGBT community statistically is just about less than 10% of the population, even in America. Absolutely less than 10%. The only issue is that you find them very strategic, very deliberate about how they go about pushing this agenda. They're a very small percentage. So actually, it's not even like a globally accepted concept. It's just that we have a small people who are strategic about their approach. And as the doctor mentioned, I think, he said it's about the environment that you create. So they make use of the media, they make use of governments, they make use of structures that are existing, they make use of politics, and they make use of everything as much as possible, very strategically, to ensure that they are influencing the narrative. And for as long as you influence the narrative, you get the attention of the world. You are able to take space. You are able to make traction, provided that you can influence the narrative. And for us in Africa, basically that has been our challenge, is that we have allowed the Western world to drive our narrative. We think that it is the Western world, that anything that is Western is right. And so as it is, over the years, there's been several attempts at changing the Nigerian law and the African law. Many nations have been in that position where that influence is being sought. Currently, there is no law in Nigeria that makes it acceptable to be transgender. There is currently, whether you are a child or you are adult, as a matter of fact, it is illegal. But the challenge we have is that as of today, it is still an illegal act. There is no legality that backs it. The challenge we have, however, is that our government that is supposed to be strong, that's supposed to take a strong position as far as this is concerned, have not been able to do that, of course, because of other factors. So we must understand that the LGBTQ and transgender question is not just a question of culture, it's not a question of medicine, it's not of science, and it's not just a question of social impact, it's an economic question. And believe me, that is the perspective. Yes, it is. I like that. It's an economic question. And that's the drive, that's the perspective from which the Western world is approaching Africa. They're approaching Africa on the subject of LGBTQ from the perspective of economy. So you see, they bring the laws to us and tell us that if we're going to be able to get aids from them, medical aids, agricultural aids, infrastructural aids, if we're going to be able to get it from them, then we need to accept their laws. We need to make LGBTQ legal. We need to be able to allow people to come into our country who are gay and to be able to move freely in the society. So they are coming from the economic perspective. They know that Africa will not accept that ideology from them, but they think that they can control Africa because Africa continues to be a subservient continent begging around the nations, the continents of the world for aids. So a way to actually win this battle is not just to go ahead and look at it from the perspective of just parent. I'm happy to say this because we're looking at it legally. There is a pressure on African countries to legalize this, even though currently there is nothing of such exists, but there is pressure on our government from the economic perspective. So if we're going to be able to fight against this and protect our children properly, then we must begin to get involved in governance. We must get involved in governance. We must see to it that government understands the concept that nobody is selling us out. We must be conscious, not just from the pulpit, but driving the narrative successfully even in the government houses so that we don't have leaders who circumvent our people, our family, our culture, our social framework for peanuts and for self-aggrandizement. So it is from that perspective, I think legally we can look at how to deal with this problem. If we understand that it's not just about our religious beliefs, it's also about our capacity to be able to control government, because basically everything coming from the West, they push on the platform of economy, because Africa is seen as dependent economically on the West. And our people, our government keeps going out, borrowing money, looking for aid, and all these grants that we're looking for up and down. A number of them have attached to them conditions that some of these legal issues are accepted. So far, I think Nigeria has done well to be able to ward it off to an extent, but I don't know how long that is going to work unless we are deliberate about addressing these issues, not just from the pulpit, not just from the educational perspective, but also to begin to look at governance strategy and the economic strategy. So I don't know if I've spoken enough for the moment.
Thank you so much, Ma. You've done justice within the few time given. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much,
I really would have loved to stay with you more, but please permit me. I need to exit. Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't greet every other panelist. God bless you. I appreciate you. I would have loved to meet everybody. Thank you. I think Dr. Naomi is online. God bless you all.
Yes,
Enjoy the rest of the program. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. She has to run. Yes, okay, so I don't want to waste our time further. Mrs. Favor Femi is here with us. Yeah. Thank you, Ma, for joining us. I would like to call you like on board. Yes, I know that she also has to run. She's really, really very, very busy at this time. She had to take out time to be with us. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us. Okay, so Mrs. Femi Favor is Oyewale is a Christian, she's a mother, she's a wife. She's a career woman, and she has a passion for children, mentoring and coaching. Mrs. Femi Favor Oyewale has been serving passionately with children, even children ministry in the Living Faith Church for over 30 years. So she actually knows the onions. Plus, she's also a group CISO and DPO of Access Bank, and she's a 23 official member of the Forbes Technology Council. So if you're looking for the tech guru, security measures put in place, she's one to go to. So Ma, thank you so much for joining us. So Ma, I'd like you to share your perspective from the aspect of not just from your vast experience as one who is experienced with children and the children ministry, but also from the digital world. We know the digital world has a whole lot, a grab on the children nowadays, and not just children, I think everyone else out there. So what's your take, and how can this be managed? How do parents manage being trendy, like digital wise, and also protecting these children from, because we definitely know, like Mr. Ayo had rightly mentioned that children are actually majorly a product of their environment. So how do parents, or how can this be managed as regards the digital space, as regards the social media world and everything? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon to everyone and to all the panelists, the co-panelists on the call. Anything that has to do with children, I know usually it touches women, so much. And because look at our size as a nation and all the things that do happen. Sometimes talking about what influences children, the challenges that they face, and perhaps maybe because being in the children ministry for 30 years thereabouts, you see some things and you feel like weeping, We have seen, we have heard, we have touched, we have handled, and it's like, it's getting, I wouldn't say worse by the day. So a lot of things really, and many parents, they don't even know their children, There's a lot of gap, and the emerging technology, the diversity, everything going on is now even making it worse. Now, if you look at what because as put on and what we really want to talk about today, there is a need to, there are so many ways we can look at it. We can look at it from emotional, we can look at it from spiritual, we can look at it from mental, and it cuts across. And we're seeing a lot of things, students even committing suicide. There's a lot of things. And the last speaker said something that I picked because I just joined this platform. And that, she made mention of environment. Environment is highly influenced what becomes of a child, especially when that child allowed the environment to dictate or to rule their sense of reasoning. So when we talk about deliberate parenting amidst the menace in the world, and somebody told me something that in UK, for instance, they don't appreciate, they will say don't beat their children. Don't beat children. If they beat you, come and report. But the actual fact, in real Britain, understand the importance of discipline. And they do discipline their children, they beat them. But because they want to destroy other people, they try to promote things that will make, especially all those people that they brought, they took to UK, or maybe they give birth to them there, that they can have it, they can do anything. So all this, starting from emotional well-being, that is fostering open and honest communication with our children to address their fears, their concern, their emotions, related to the current world situation. There's a lot of big issue. When you look at the word in its true perspective, Now, also providing a safe and a supportive environment where children can express themselves and seek comfort. I've seen in an instances, and I mean, I'm trying to talk from the point of real life scenario, whereby a child of 11-year-old, a child of 10-year-old is, gain the confidence enough to confide in us as teachers of being sexually molested on a several basis that she cannot even count. So those, if you look at that, that's another old boy, even in the Christian setting. So also letting our children know emotional resilience. Whatever they are teaching them in classroom is also different from what the word is painting to them. So, and how to navigate their challenge and uncertainty they face in life. Also, the ethical behavior is very important. The children of these days, they are gradually losing their value system. So as a country, as a nation, there is need to begin to teach children the importance of empathy, kindness, respect for others, regardless of differences. There is a sense of social responsibility, that making them to know that, okay, they are not living for themselves. The children of these days, somehow, some of them are growing to become irresponsible in terms of not even appreciating, parents' sacrifices on them. And it's because the parent too has a role to play. Oh, they're small, they're children, they're still growing up. And they begin to indulge and indulge until the child becomes a dried fish that cannot be burned. Then the need to also instill and develop a strong moral is something that is highly needed in this, phase, this particular stage or season that we are in. Then talking about taking it to cybersecurity, you see, everybody now uses phone. Everybody now carry one gadget or the other. But what many does not know is that too much information overload. People, children are being sexually abused, even on the social media. They are, being, inculcated into wrong and, immoral lifestyle, even from social media, even from their phone. I've had a teenager walk up to me, a teenager of highly influenced family, battling with, a thought, somebody just sent a game to her, and unknowingly, she got hooked to that game, and it was a sex game. Wow. And this was a child that was very vibrant, that loved God, always, but she knew that she got hooked to the extent that she started messing up herself until she ran to me for help. So we have a lot of things that parents just expose children without proper education, without letting them know the havoc that they can be, exposed to. How many parents check their children's phone to see what they are seeing, what they are doing, the friend they see, who they are chatting with, who they are discussing with. So ability for them to be able to create a boundary around themselves so that wrong influences and negative influences, they will not fall a prey to it. The importance of digital citizenship, responsible online behavior, what can be shared and what cannot be shared, and the consequences of online action. Many of our children are not privy to it. Then promoting tolerance and inclusion. Yes, everybody's saying financial inclusion, digital inclusion, and everything. But how are we training our children for them to know what they're supposed to do as this world is going? Digital safety. And we have the National Cybersecurity Strategy and Policy. There's an old chapter, because I was privileged to be part of the people that developed the country national strategy and policy. And there was a whole chapter that was dedicated, that I review and wrote on online child abuse and protection. How many people even understand that we have something on a national level that should protect our children on digital safety, educate our children about online risk, privacy protection, responsible use of technology, how they can set boundaries and guidelines for their internet and social media usage, and basic knowledge about what cybersecurity best practices is all about. So also encouraging our children to develop a growth mindset is also something that we need to, start championing. A perseverance, adaptability, and learning from failures. Yeah, they will fail, but that does not make them there to be a failure. You fail, you gather yourself together. But the amount of things that they need to know to support their talent, to grow their interest, to promote a sense of purpose and self-confidence is what I think we need to promote evermore among our children, teenagers, and youth, because they are the future of the nation, and we need to also help them to model positive behavior in them and be a role model to them by practicing what we preach. Many parents are very, very faulty with this. We ask our children not to do something, but we do that. So what do we expect them to do? Of course, they are going to emulate what they see from the parents. And of course, we also want to ensure that we want to encourage children to participate in community service, that will foster positive change, connection with like-minded families, organizations, creating support network where children can seek guidance and inspiration from peers and from mentors. These are some of the things I think we need to begin to pay attention to as a country. I know a lot of NGOs, a lot of people are doing different things, but we are very, if you look at our population, are we really seeing impact? And I know, a lot of things need also to be, anchored from the national level, joining forces with everyone doing things in their little corners. These children, they are faced with everything. There's a lot of our youth now, they are paying attention, using small skill to defraud. When you see them in E3 ordering all manner of things, you can be sure that they have hammered somebody's ATM card, or they have already siphoned one money, they have done one fraudulent thing, because you can be sure that it's not their money that they are spending. You see them flog all manner of hotels. That is, the sense of even trying to continue education, because they're already getting things and they think that is how to live life. There's a lot of issues, there's a lot of bigger things for us all to look at, to take our youth to where they're supposed to be, because many are they are getting derailed. There's a lot of havoc going on in this, how they among our youths, that a lot has to be done. Thank you very much. I think I should just wait for that to talk.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Before you go, I wanted to ask, is there any device or anything to be able to curb, for parents now, how do we protect the children from some certain exposure, just so they're protected from some certain, like you said?
So my point is, you see, we cannot ask them not to have phone, but I think education is what matters here. How well are we educating them? They need to have an understanding of responsible use of what they do on the internet. Many children have audibly sent their naked picture to an imaginary friend online, because they said the person sent his own. And what they don't know is that what that person sent is not that real person thing.
It's true.
Do you understand? So that somebody sent their nude picture does not mean you should send your own in return. And many of them have been blackmailed. Many of them have been law to have unsolicited sex under duress, because they have what they say they will leak into the internet, that word, that will implicate them. So how much parents really need to understand where does your children go to when they are surfing the net? When they go to YouTube, what kind of content are they using? What kind of private rooms chats do they involve themselves? Who are their friends? How many groups do they belong to on WhatsApp? What kind of discussion goes on there? I recall that during the COVID, during COVID, where everybody was working from home, where children formed all manner of groups, I took it upon myself for the baby of the house to check all the groups that she belonged to, check all the conversation going on in that group. And by myself, I was closing some of those groups, because I said, you are not meant to be in this kind of group. Even though you are not talking, what they are discussing here is not good for your life, And I report it also as a fraudulent or an illicit or immoral groups. So it is, but how many parents does that? How many parents regulate what their children can do? The kind of program that they can watch, they are out there, and also for them to understand that why they cannot do it, why it is not healthy for them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. We really do appreciate you, Mrs. Favor Femi Oyewole. Thank you so much for having our time to be able to do this. We really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. Yes, so I would like to talk, we have Mrs. Omoluabi Foster here with us. She's the principal of Caleb British International School, Lekki. So Ma, I would love your take on deliberate parenting amidst the uprising menace in the world as regards from the school's aspect. I remember one of the panelists mentioned earlier about, talked about we not having to just say, oh, it's just the parents, the school, not having to delegate or relegate our responsibilities to the school, me having to take the front position, having to raise these kids. So I remember one of that, I think that's Mr. I mentioned it, yes. So from the school's aspect, from the school's point of view, from the school standpoint, what's your take on this, Ma, regarding having to, the Western culture having to influence these children? We know, yes, Caleb British, it's an international school, and we know that, so many parents out there are scared of their parents, their children being exposed to some certain information or mixing with some certain crowds and everything. So we'd like you to demystify some of these fears, and also to talk from the aspect of the educational standpoint. What's your stance regarding the faith school? Are we to be swayed? What exactly? I think I'm just going. Then okay, let me just stop here. Okay, so I think let me give you the floor. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can. But I actually, okay, I think I've introduced you. Yes, I have. Okay, so Ma, you can go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Can I go on, please?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yes, I got your question, although you went a bit off, during some of the things you said, but I think I got a huge part of what you asked. Okay. Hello, everyone in the house. In 2002, the National Council on Education approved the Family Life and HIV education. Now, the curriculum will aim to provide, or is aimed because it's still on, to provide information for young people to make rational decisions about their bodies, on positive behavior. Of course, to also safeguard against the spread of HIV. The curriculum also is centered on developing the skills of young people to cope with biological, sociocultural, spiritual aspects of, and also, of course, psychological aspects of the human life. So I would like us to know, or rather to be informed, that the government has actually introduced something to actually help the youth or the younger generation cope with this. Now, looking at parenting and education, I would like to say this. I'm trying to come on video and, okay, looking at education and parenting and education, I think there should be a balance. And what's the balance I speak about? there should be a synergy between the home and the school. I think Nigerians or Nigerian parents should be intentional about parenting. What do I mean? We should stop. We should stop using our generation, what we went through as children, to compare our children. Now, what do I mean? When we were younger as children, the world was not like this. We didn't have internet. Of course, we had phones, we had analog phones. We were not carrying little gadgets that would introduce us to several things, several vices. What we had then was majorly television. It was through television, you could get so many things. And phones were analog, you didn't carry them around. So what it means is that when you're making a phone call, your parents could hear what you're saying or what you're communicating. But nowadays we have phones, we have a little gadget that introduces you to the world. And what you hear people say is, the Gen Z generation, they are attacked, they are things. But what we've not asked ourselves is, are we really there for them the way our parents were for us? Our parents were at home. Our parents closed around 2 p.m., 3, they were at home. But nowadays, we are working. I'm at work. So many of us here are at work. Our children are in school. Are we really there for them? Are we faulting a generation we created? Are we faulting a generation that our generation created these gadgets for? Do we really know them? Why is homosexuality becoming rampant in the world? Why is it becoming common in schools? Are schools intentional about talking about promoting, or rather talking about sex education in school? Are we intentional about the morals? I mean, the word of God. In Caleb British, we are intentional about morality. We are intentional about Christianity. Because God's word communicates very clearly that we are created in his own image. So schools should be intentional about morality. Schools should be intentional about discussing transgender, but please not promoting it, not making it the major topic of discussion. Because like one of the speakers rightly said, I think the first speaker, he said when a child watches pornography for about 7 times, it becomes a part of the child. Not like the child starts practicing it, but there's an image or thought that becomes, that takes a shape in the child's mind. Now, there are several stages of development. There is the infant stage, there is the toddler stage, there is the preschooler development, the middle childhood, adolescent, and adults. Are we in Nigeria as parents intentional about this developmental stages? Are we looking at our children the way we were brought up? No, we shouldn't. We should be intentional about talking to them. I'm going to give little instances, in some of the schools I've worked with, where a parent is invited to school and the parent is told that, oh, your child was involved in this. And the first thing you hear is, God forbid, my child can't do this. I'm from a Christian home. Because you think you're so sure and you know the child that is just at home with you from 7 o'clock or from 8 o'clock. Some of the children are asleep before you get home. So you don't get to know them, especially in the world we're in now. And they come and they tell you this, no, it's not my child. I can vouch for my child. And at the end of the day, the child tells you, Mom, I did it. And you're taken aback. And the first reaction you get sometimes is that the parent gets up and you want to beat the child. Is that the first thing? No. I'll give an example. If a parent is called to school that the child was involved in an immoral act, the first thing is not to get angry. Fine. We are emotional beings, right? But the first
Yes,
thing
sir.
is to try and understand why the child did that. Understand why the child did that. Never believe you know your child completely, because children in this time are living in two worlds. And what's the first world? At home, that's a world. In school, that's another world. And like one of the speakers rightly said, a child may be, I'm going to use the word maybe, a product of the environment. It all depends on what the child decides to do. Because of course, there are formative stages in the children. And it's the home and the school that can help in this formative stage. So I used the word intentional before. The school has to be intentional about what it teaches, what the school is preaching, what the school is branding. You find out that in schools where it is intentional to preach morality, the students are listening to it. But in a school where it is intentional to promote social vices, I'm not against it. But where the social life of the school is higher than the moral life or the academic life, you find out that in schools like that, you hear all manners. Oh, these children were involved in sex. These children were involved in this. These children were involved in that. Why is that? We see this in education because there is no balance. So where am I going to with all this? It is true. In schools, people come in from homes, bringing in different vices. In Caleb British, it's an international school, and we have lots of foreign students. We have students from the UK, we have students from the United States, we have students from Canada, we have students from, all parts of the world. I kid you not if I tell you we don't face these vices. I do not mean homosexuality or trans. No, we don't have that. I would use the word right now. But believe me, Nigerians are coming back home, especially Nigerians that were born there or parents have been there for maybe 20 or 30 years and their children were born there. They are bringing them back home. Why? Because they are looking for schools that would genuinely preach against this.
Yeah.
So when you hear Nigerians say this, we are westernized, our children are abroad, schools should understand why children behave in a way. Schools should understand and allow their children use certain pronouns. Maybe allow a boy use she, allow a girl use he. No, it's a no. It's a no. Caleb is a faith-based school. It is not allowed. And I'd like to say at this point that other schools should join in this and not allow it. And not allow it. We shouldn't allow homosexuality. If we see the traits in a child, the school should quickly call for help. After the child has seen the school counselor, the school should also refer the child to a professional. And the parent should be invited in, or she should be called to the school to quickly discuss this.
Kindly mute.
Neural network. It's the most basic. But in the field, we
So, hello, sir. Kindly mute you. So,
okay, I'm trying to wait for that. I'll just round up with this. There is a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in school. There's a lot going on in the minds of the children. Low self-esteem, emotional, insecurity, depression, and all. But the home and the school would need to synergize to ensure that these vices, are laid, are driven away from the school. I think I'll just stop here so that I'll give other speakers the platform to inform us and communicate their mind on this. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's actually so much to this. 1 hour is just so short.
Yeah.
Such a short time to be able to unpack all of this. There's a whole lot. I know that we will, of course, we'll come back later. And I hope when we reach out to you, Ma, you'll be willing to give us the platform. Thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. We have really short time. I think we have 7 minutes for this session. We will not be able to take questions, but please, if you do have your questions, kindly put them on the chat box and we'll reach out to our panelists and then we'll be able to give you answers directly. Okay, so the next is Dr. Naomi Caesar Dekami. Yes, she's a family physician in training. She's a blogger and she's a social media influencer. She's the seasoned speaker. She's also a musician and a writer. She's married and she's presently in the okay, she's presently in Toronto, yes, in Canada. Okay, so Ma, you know you're a physician in training. I would like you to give us the health implication of transgender or say homosexualism, and then also what has been your experience as a parent even in Canada, because we know that this issue, this challenge is such prevalent in the western part of not western part of Nigeria, but the Western world basically. So yeah, it's over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Dorcas. It's really a privilege to be here. And I really want to say great all the other panelists for all the things they've been saying. It's really a privilege to be here. And I'm going to try as much as possible to summarize everything within the short time that we have. First and foremost, the health implication of transgender, particularly here in the Western world, it's really over the board. They've made it like a norm. You see children in buses around the road, they are kissing each other, and you just have to take it as a normal thing. And being a Christian, having children that, are also going to school, the aspect of training our children in the right way now comes to play. That we are not only planning to train our children the way we were trained by our Christian fathers or parents. Now we are dealing with trained children and untrained ones. In quotes, I'm using that word, untrained ones, because while we are trying to make sure that the home environment is good, the school environment, which I'll still touch, is good, and the church environment is helping, because for me, I feel the solution comes from school, church, and home. If we can walk around that three, it helps a lot, because transgender and everything has crept into the medical world. For example, in our practice here, you actually see a patient that will tell you, I feel like becoming a boy. And you have to accept, you have to let the child know that it's a norm, it's a good feeling medically. You have to say that it's a good feeling. We call it gender dysphoria. Sometimes what is also called is gender identity crisis. And there are solutions to it, such that they will tell you, okay, the person has to become a boy for 6 months, and then if the patient feels I'm fine in this body, I found myself, they go for hormonal therapy, you refer them to therapists to talk about them. Then after that, if they still feel they want to change themselves, maybe they already developed their breast and every other part, you have to now further take them to the surgeons where they have the surgery. I might not be able to talk more on that, but just to let us know that it has really crept into the environment, it has really crept into the society, that even public schools here in Canada or some other North American countries are free. So which means, and they speak about everything. They talk about, oh, you can become wherever you want to be. They tell you if you want to be a child, if you want to be a boy, if you want to be a girl and you're not the boy or from outset, you can actually become that. So it has really crept in. The moral decadence here it has become a norm that if you as a person says you're not going to refer them in that way, you can actually be sued, and they will cancel culture that comes into play. Like, okay, you might not be allowed to walk, you might not be allowed to do. So it's really dicey. I'm really jealous of Nigeria and Africa in the sense that at least we have not gotten to that realm. We have not gotten to that realm which is now becoming into our faces. Like what Mrs. Omoluabi said, that the schools, the Christian schools are really working against it. And of course, in general, Nigeria is not legally accepted. But we can see them. They are always on social media. We can talk about Bobrisky. We can talk about James Brown. They call them cross-dressers. But that's how they creep in. Because the environment we're talking about is not only in homes, the environment we're talking about is not only in schools. The social media also is a major factor that they venture into, and entertainment is in musicians, stars, and these are where children, these are the things that creeping into kids. So even if some of our children don't have the exposure of some of these musicians, their friends might have an idea of one of their songs, and maybe while they are in school they just talked about it. So the implication of transgender on children's mind and their psyche is that it has deepened insecurity, it has deepened depression, it has caused confusion on the kids, and then the last part of it is suicide. We have a high rate of suicidal attempts and suicide, in amongst children nowadays compared to before. And of course, medically, we now have a lot of children that are having sexually transmitted infection. Some even have AIDS. I remember a 21-year-old boy that is a gay that came into our clinic, like I think 2 weeks ago. And he already has hepatitis B, he has HIV. He just found out that he was HIV positive like 2 months ago. So he's been on his antiretroviral drugs. He has hepatitis B, all the viral infection. Now, talking about his partners, before he became gay, he was actually already sexually active with females. So that alone, and here in Canada, when you're treating a sexually transmitted, when a patient comes in and the patient is sexually transmitted, has an STI or STD, you have to report to the public health. And then there's something they call contact tracing. Contact tracing means that every other person the person has had sex with, that he or she can remember, you must be able to touch on them, send a letter to them, let them come for a test, so to see whether they are safe or not. So that already widens the fact that just one person that has HIV/AIDS. So if the person had slept with 8 people in his lifetime, we have to send letters to those 8 people if you can remember their contact. And if those ones also have been sexually active with other people while they were with this person, we have to send. So it now becomes like you can't really vouch for anyone that does not have a particular infection. And these are adults, in quotes, that when they see babies, they peck them, and they see babies. Let's not even talk about oral sex. Let's not even go into sexual. So that's to let you know the decadence. It's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep. I remember when we came into Canada, my husband and I, we had to have a talk. I had to delay like what would have given me like 2 years to complete, in order for me to complete my training here. We had to delay it in order to have that there's someone at home, in a way, at a particular point in time, that we can actually take care for the kids. Although by the time until a child is 4 years, you can't really take the child to school. The child can't start school in this part of the world until they are 4 years. But before then, you can take them to daycare. They are exposed to YouTube. You see Coco Melon, Peppa Pig. But do you know Peppa Pig actually is an homosexual cartoon for children? Peppa Pig, that everybody knows. Coco Melon also has a lot of moral decadence. Sometimes you hear kids like there's a common there's a common song that children sing that they usually teach children on some of these YouTube cartoons for kids, that when you hear them, they're actually encouraged to lie. It's more, I'm forgetting the song. It's like when they say, did you take the sugar? And they said, no, I did not take. Open your mouth, and you found out that the sugar is in the child's mouth, but the child said no, that I did not take the sugar, or I didn't take the chocolate out. It's actually part of the songs that they teach in Coco Melon. So when they are being encouraged to lie, so it becomes normal for a child to say, did you take anything on the table? And say, no, I did not take it. It's not because the child has a bad attitude in the real sense. It's because of what or she has been watching so far. So one of the ways one can actually get out, or one can actually curtail, what I usually tell people is, it takes a healthy parent to actually train or bring up a healthy child. Because whatever the child is seeing in the home front affects the child's self-esteem, affects the child value, affects the child view to a reasonable extent. And then if the child, all the child sees is parents yelling on each other, his parents not praying together, his parents not, talking or gisting, the child will just believe that that's how life is. And when the child gets out, that's all you know. And when we come to the school environment, whereby, for example, the public school, rainbow, an average child will tell you that rainbow is a rainbow of homosexualism. They don't even know that rainbow is a biblical, covenant of God saying, I don't want, no more flooding and everything. And in this part of the world, it's so crazy that bills upon bills. There's nobody, unlike in Nigeria or Africa, whereby if you tell your landlord that, please, so I might not be able to I might not be able to pay my house rent. Give me 2 months. Over here, at the end of that, before the end of the month, you must be found paying your next rent. So it makes most parents to be on the go. Every parent is trying to make sure that the bills are paid, make sure that food is on the table and everything. So it doesn't really give much time for parents to really sit down and say, how do I work? And there is no family structure. The Western world was not built to have a family structure, a family support, or like back home whereby you can have aunties, nephews, uncles, or grandmothers, or big aunties coming to say, you just want to go for walk and I don't know where to keep these kids. Let me just take them there. That is not really what we have here. So it makes it really difficult for parents to really sit at home and study their kids. And that is not an excuse for, neglecting our jobs. It just makes us see how the environment are so much enabled. It's a structure, like it's a strategy that they use, like what Mrs. Sholakwe said. It's a strategy that they use just to structure the environment, to make sure that whatever information they want to pass across is so gotten into the kids, it gets into the environment that even parents will not have even known until when it starts bringing its fruition. So one of the things one can actually work on is to work on home front, ensure that as parents, we are not just trying to look for what to eat. And it doesn't mean that we have to spend all the days of all the days of the week. Children work more on routine. They thrive more on routine, on repetition. All that is needed is for them to have something to look up to. If we know we cannot do our family devotions every day, maybe because of the nature of our job or whatever, if it means twice in a week, if you can stick to those twice in a week, and we are intentional, like what Mrs. Omolabi said, and we're intentional about it, that okay, this Friday that we are doing morning devotion, we're going to talk about love, and this is what we're going to discuss for the kids, and they're going to be able to ask questions. And maybe on Sunday when we're coming back from church, this is what we're going to do. And also detailed. For example, let me use my home as an example. My kids are still younger, but I beat them and I tell them the reason. And I started from when they were very small. 2 fingers, your bum, and I'll tell you why you did what you did. At a point, now what I now do is there's a naughty corner in the house, because one of the ways you can one of the things you can do to a child is to restrict movement. In fact, when I found out that works more, it became
it does actually.
If you can restrict a child, you take up that liberty of making them to sit still. They can cry their eyes out. So whenever they know that they've done something that is not nice, what I do, I just tell them, go and stand and face the wall. And the wall they are facing is just plain wall. There's no color. There's nothing to attract them. There's no variety around. That naughty corner, they can stay there for a few minutes, and I'll start telling them, why did you do what you did? They might, I just did it. Oh, I just did it. Okay, it's good. It's good to just want to do what you want to do, but these are the consequences that comes, because everybody doesn't get to do what they have to do. So one has to explain to kids when they are being punished, in quotes, why they are being punished and the reason for it. And if they don't do it the next time, this is what they will get. For example, my elder sister, my older daughter, she lied. I asked her who picked this thing from the table, and she said I wasn't. And the younger sister said, and I said, okay, if you tell me the truth, I'm not going to give you timeout, because they also have timeout. But if you don't tell me the truth, you're going to have timeout. You're not going to eat chicken fries or whatever they eat, because those are like one of the things you give them. Maybe ice cream once in a while. I don't give sugars every time, because that one also, what they eat also affects their attitude. But I can't say on that because of time. So what I do is I give both. Okay, if you know you're going to tell me the truth, I will not. And most times, whenever she does that, I don't give any time out. I will tell her, do you know why I didn't give you time out? Because you told the truth. So when they know that there is a gain in telling the truth, there was a day I told her, I said, even if everybody tells you, if everybody is telling lie, you must tell the truth, even if they beat you because of it. She said, are you serious? But that's so mean. I said, yes, it's so mean. It gives you, it means that you can think on your own. And most times these children are children. They are not really children, because they understand more. They know more. They know a lot of things because of what they've been exposed to. So one of the things we can also curtail is on the YouTube, what they watch. There are a lot of things I had to take out. I had to take out Cocomelon. I took out Peppa Pig. One of the things they watch is they watch Omoberry, which is because it's a Nigerian base, or let me say African, but the person that owns the stuff is actually Nigerian. Omoberry talks about Africa, so they get to learn more about Nigeria and the culture and all the heroes. Then they look at number blocks, Gracie's Corner, Auntie Rachel, things that I know that they can think about, they can work on. Then Superbook. Whenever we are watching Super, I will tell them this morning is Super Book. They will say, no, we want Coco Melon. If you like, cry to tomorrow. Because here, if a child start crying, your neighbors can call the cops on you. So I'll tell them, if you like, cry tomorrow, cry. At the end of the day, they have understood that whenever mommy says Super Book is it, they know it is Super Book. So even if they throw all the tantrums, I'll just be looking at them. One of the things we need not to do is when children are throwing tantrums, don't get angry with them. Just be looking at them, be calm with them, let them know, oh, it's okay to be angry. I can understand that you're not happy because you didn't get what you want, but this is why I want you to watch Super Book. So that at the time both of them got to know that both of their names are Deborah and Esther. Whenever I read bedtime stories for them, our bedtime story is the Bible book for children. So when I read Deborah for them, say, oh, so Deborah is a prophetess and Esther is a queen. From that day onwards, any bedtime story, can you read Deborah and Esther for us? It's because they were able to know. And a child, Papa Kumi says, don't blame them if you don't train them. Don't blame them if you don't train them. If you don't tell a child why this is this, one of the things we can do for our children is to expose them. Let them know that transgender exists. Let them know that they are gay. There is lesbianism. Let them also know what is in the scripture. Let them know what means. In this house, we don't close door. But the way they teach them in school, they let them know that their room is privacy, that whenever your parent is coming, they must knock. I don't knock because the house is not, we are not friends in the house. I'm their mother, their father is their father. So they're not the ones that will tell us what to do. And one of the other things I've also found out, the last one I'll just talk about so I can just wrap up, is when we go to church, most of our parents, most of us, where we go, maybe we come for midweek services because we are coming from the work or anything, we are not able to bring our kids. But one of the things I know that some children teachers will be able to testify to this, most parents don't like say no. They'll be crying as young as at the age in which they are allowed to be in children's church. Let them be there. If we are doing 2 services, let them be there. Let not say, they'll be hungry, they will not be able to stay, they cannot extend that 2 services, they will not be able to stay, because what they hear continuously, like I said, children thrive on repetition, they thrive on a routine. When they know that on a Sunday morning, I can't sit beside mommy in the main church, I have to be in the children's church. And they know that mommy and daddy will ask me, what did you learn in school? What did you learn in church? And you are really listening to what they learned. It gives them a kind of responsibility that I can't afford not to listen to what my teacher is saying. I can't afford to not listen what they're going to say. So the impact of transgender on the mind of the kid, it's so vast. It ranges from insecurity, confusion, depression to suicide, and then at the end of the day, most importantly, health-wise, is STDs. And once they have gone to that realm, and self-mutilation, because by the time they get to the point whereby they are changing their body system, especially here, is so deep, where their body system here and everything, they can't take it back, and insurance doesn't even cover it. So at the end of the day, they end up dying, and it becomes a very pathetic issue. So back home, I would just say it's already creeping into Nigeria. Even while I was studying medicine, we have groups, even though it's not known, but we have groups that we actually, because of the health implication they have to the community, we have gay groups, we have lesbian groups that we actually go to train, teach them and educate them on how they can handle sex safely, just for the reason of community. They are around us, we just don't know. They are in hotels, we just don't know. Back home, before I left for Canada, I was working in a private university, and that private university, you will see stark gayism and lesbianism being practiced, even though the school was against it. But medical professional and as a medical doctor, I already know. So most people don't even know them because they don't dress like ladies, they don't dress like guys, like, in quotes. You still see them as being normal guys, you still see them as being normal ladies, but their practice behind closed door, by the time they come with STDs and everything, I start asking them questions, and you're wondering, how did these people get here without anybody knowing? And we, because of the safety as out of the Hippocratic oath that we took, we can't just expose them. So one of the things we do is we refer them to therapists or psychiatrists that can work with them, and then over time I always tell them to come back. One of the things I do back then is I also counsel with the kids in the private university before I left. So most of the things we do, we actually counsel them, we ask what the reasons are, and most of the time, it's not all the time, it's from home. They maybe neglect home, not being having attention, and then the last one that affects them is peer pressure. So I just hope, this is a very vast topic that we can't really cover for a long time, but it's a very good topic that is being chosen. I hope God will give us the strength. Sorry, last we have to pray. We have to pray. We have to pray. We can't overemphasize prayer. Over our children, we have to pray over them. Over our lives, we have to pray over them. Because one of the things prayer does is like it's a storeroom that one keeps putting things and keep putting things so that even if the kids go astray, in quotes, if they are able to come back to God at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
So much. Ma, before you go, I was going to ask you, so as a parent in Canada, so have you been able to protect your children from other kids who are likely to have the mindset of transgender or being, I'm a gay woman, I'm a gay guy, all those their terminologies and their pronouns, and have you been able to protect your children? Or are you teaching them at home, or what have you been doing just so that the other parent out there that will really need to know what it is you do and having to protect your kids, ma? Thank you.
First and foremost, one of the things I've been able to do, I pray for them. And they always, most times when I pray in the night, some of them, they wake up and meet me praying. That's number one. That's the spiritual aspect of it. And then we go to church. And when we go to church, they don't go to church and hold phones. They don't go to church and hold their iPads. As young as they are, first one is 6 years, the second one is almost 5. When they get to church, there's a small Bible and a small notes and pencil that I give them. I'll tell them, write whatever you want to write. I watch their circle of friends. They have friends in school. So when they come back from school, I just tell them, what did you learn today? What's the fun thing that you learned today? I don't just ask a vague question. I ask direct question. Was anybody mean to you? Did anybody touch any part of your body? Did anybody touch your bum bum? Did anybody touch your breast? Because before they started school, I've already used in terms of body parts. I call the names of the body parts. What's this? They tell is my breast. What's this? Is my bum bum, is my where I poo. So they already know. So even if anybody gets to, there was a time like that one of them said somebody there, and I said who, and she mentioned the person's name. I actually, because of a child that she is, I couldn't really know the name. So I told her, I'm going to see your teacher tomorrow morning, and I went there. So when a child sees that if I report a case to my mom or my dad, he or she takes it up and goes to defend me. They have more freedom to talk about what it is they are going through in school. And then on the aspect of discussing about transgender and everything, what I just tell them is that I've not started explaining in details because of their age range. I wait till 8 years because there's an age range for discussion of that. So what I just tell them is that if it's not food, it must not touch your mouth. So they already know if it's not food, nothing touches your mouth. That's to avoid any form of oral sex or any form of anybody touching your mouth. And I tell them nobody must peck you or kiss you on the lips. It's a direct instruction. You know why? Because if somebody pecks you on the cheek, they might go ahead and kiss you on the lips, and that's not good at your age because only daddy and mommy kisses. Because they see myself and their dad hugging and kissing. Mommy, don't kiss. It's only daddy and mommy kisses, or a family member. Your sister can peck you. So in that way, whenever anybody tries to do that, they already know how to let me know. So some of this I explain to them, and then about they attend a Catholic school, which to a reasonable extent has curtailed the aspect of freedom to talk about transgender and gay for now. But they're trying to reduce it. So one other thing I also let them know, because right now they tell them rainbow is the color of man. So I explained what rainbow is to them. The rainbow is not just any color, is the covenant that God made. And from the book we read, from their Bible stories, they get to see that it was Noah and everything. So just exposure to let them know that this obtains, and then to also let them know that they can talk to mommy and daddy about anything. It's not easy. I will not say that it's so easy because right here it's something that, in fact, they actually sued the Catholic schools here of recent. They said there's a petition going on that they want them to accept LGBTQ textbooks in Catholic schools because they didn't allow them. It's the only schools that have those books. So they are actually working on that petition, which the Catholic schools are fighting against because they attend a Catholic school. But if you attend a Catholic school, private schools are very expensive. So it's either a Catholic school or a public school that an average person can attend here. Private schools are extremely expensive. So one of the things we do is on the books, they've not been exposed to that yet because the school they attend don't have that. But I let them know that a girl to girl does not kiss. A girl to girl is your sister, and she is a girl, a he is a boy. So we discuss that at home. That's the level I've been with them for now because of their age. So I just tell them a she is a girl and a he is a boy. I'll tell them daddy is a boy, daddy is a man, mommy is a girl, mommy is a woman. So they already have that as a template. Because sometimes they mistaken, oh, hey, she said, and I said, who is the person? He said, that boy. I said, no, you use he for him. So those are things that we just go through on a daily basis that we work on a daily basis. Yeah, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for your time. Really love. I really enjoyed all you said so far, and I know that's highly beneficial to everyone here, and even those who also listen to this year after. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you so much to all the speakers and every member of the panel. Thank you so much for your time, for giving this a short and in such a short notice. Thank you for adding value to parent out there, educating even we yet to go on that space. Thank you so much. To top it all, I believe that deliberate parenting, the foundation is God, because every child was given to you by God. Let's put biology aside. The real owner and the real giver of those children is God. The only way you can maneuver, the only way you can take charge is when your foundation is right, which is God. When you start them on the path of God, it makes it easy for you to speak, to correct and love, and to manage whatever it is that comes here. I think that's just it. So do we have questions? If we have questions, kindly put them in the chat box. If we do not have, or maybe you're still thinking about them, kindly send them to us, maybe personally, or put them on the chat or via WhatsApp number. I believe everybody here has my WhatsApp number. But before we go, I would like to share with us something that we have been working on, or something that's ongoing. I would love each and every one of us to be part of. Okay, so it's just a minute. I can't find. Okay, so sorry. I really wanted to share. I can't seem to lay my hands on this. But anyways, all I'm trying to say in essence, or what I was trying to show you, is the new book coming from the stables of Guided Arrows. It's called Who is God? I'm still trying to see how I can share it to everyone right here. Or maybe I should just share my screen with you. Okay, so please, a minute. Sorry, this is congratulatory messages. Sorry. Okay. So okay, so it's a new book, but it's a children's book, but it's an attempt to simplify who God is to children, so that they have an understanding even at their age, from ages 3-5-year-old, they know who God is. One of the things you should be expecting from the book, let me give you a teaser, is God is a father. Yeah, so the book is going to be dealing with the 7 F's of God. I don't want to tell you everything about the book, but 7 F's of God. And one of it, I just gave you one. God is your father. So we want to let these children know who God is. I believe that's the best way. Introducing to God early is the best way to be able to tell some certain things and to be able to put them on the path there to tread, to know God as their father. So that's thereabout. I believe we've come to the end of this talk show. It's been an amazing one so far. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate everyone who has spoken so far, every of the panelists, that's from Mr. ADESANYA to Mrs. Shalakwe Adesuyi, to Mrs. Favourfemi Oyewole, and to Dr. Naomi, and to Mrs. Omoluabi Bose. Thank you so much for this time. I really do appreciate it. And I believe that God is so proud of us all. And to parents out there, like I said earlier, the basis for having to train up a child is to introduce God to them early and to be the best model for your child. It's easy. It's not easy for you to train a child in the way of God when you yourself are falling short of your relationship with God. The best way to train a child is to be the best model for a child by knowing God yourself and let them see you do what you preach. So that's the best way. And beyond the spiritual aspects, we need to put some measures in place from all I've taken from, I'm taking a cue from all our speakers have said so far is having to be deliberate as regards their exposure, what are they exposed to, how you discipline them, when you're talking to them, when you're punishing them, what do you say? Do you correct out of love, or you just punish and out of anger, you know? And then in the digital space, what are you exposing the children to? Give them, let there be a timing for each of the things that they do. Okay, you're going to be online. Let there be a timing for how long you're online. And so there's so many. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, thank God this is being recorded. Yes, I'm going to try to put this online on a YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and then I'll send a link to everyone and post it out there. So for as many people who want to have a recap on this, so that this can be of benefit, to great benefit to you here on. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have questions, please do send them to me via WhatsApp. We'll be very, very happy to oblige, and then send them to whoever it is you want to ask the questions from a barista, from a physician, whoever will be able to respond adequately. Thank you so much for your time. We've come to the end. Oh, sorry. Before I come to the end, yeah, today's my birthday, everybody. Yes. So I'll like Mr. Ayo. I don't know if you're still here. I'll like.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy
birthday
so
to you.
Happy. Thank you so much. Oh, I think everybody's gone already, but it's fine. Okay, so could you please, let's pray together, Doctor. Could pray for me. I appreciate it.